We're here with Mitch Biggs, Avidyne's Vice President of Sales and Marketing. You've had some really interesting years building on a history of innovation, tweaking, fine-tuning, and innovating again. Let's start first with any one of the innovations you've introduced most recently, but let's do Avidyne 101. What's new?
So great question. I mean, thanks for having us out here. I would say we're still helping people understand our new tagline for pilots that know the difference. So we feel that we have a lot of innovation out there, and really getting the word out that there are some really interesting gadgets that you can put in the airplane to make flying simpler, and really for those that know the difference. So this year, we've really fulfilled a lot of promises. We've extended the life of the EX5000, which is in the Cirrus community, by giving them ADS-B. So that software is 8.2. So we're working with the manufacturers that have the type certificate to push that out into the field so that they can get traffic and weather on their displays. We're also taking care of the R9 guys and giving them traffic and weather on their displays. So fulfilling that promise. And we're actively working on TAS-A, that software, to help some blended traffic and move there. And then we're relaunching soon that whole TAS product line, which really the infancy of the company. A lot of people don't realize Avidyne's been around for 25 years. And so we've been doing a lot of stuff, and that active traffic system is going to be relaunched into a Skytrax 600 series coming here real soon. So we've got some exciting promos coming out. We've been building out the sales and marketing team and really taking this product to the next level in terms of getting more time on it and really listening to the customers so that we can start making some more tweaks.
Outstanding. I got to tell you, as you may be aware, I spent several hundred hours behind R9.
Oh, great.
In a Cirrus. It was a really interesting experience because I'd started in that airplane with the early generation or the first generation Avidyne flat panel, and the switch to R9 to me was extraordinary because it wasn't so much about the technology as the methodology. Where making a switch on an approach into Miami, where they switch your runway or something like that, and you're in the clag. In Brand G, that's a lot of button turns and this and that and so forth and so on. And in R9, it was a whole lot less, plus the visuals of watching how the approach was changing and what transition you needed to make and where you had to turn and what to do. And then, of course, match it up to a DFC 100, and basically all you're doing is sitting back and watching everything happen. After you have the first few twists and turns, that's it. Yep. It was brilliant pilot thinking. Yep. It was brilliant methodology. I've never flown a system that to me fit the way I wanted to fly, the simplicity of what I wanted to accomplish so that I could pay attention to anything going wrong.
Absolutely.
And the difficulties of flying, especially in Florida airspace. Brilliant stuff. Yep. And I'm sure, I've watched that methodology now transition to what you've done with the IFD series and a number of other areas. Kind of amazing. Where do you go from here?
Well, we've got a lot of things on our plate in terms of what's next out there. There's certainly things outside of the GA market that we have under the Avidyne umbrella in terms of the unmanned market. We've got a lot of initiatives in there, especially with government programs. We have another initiative of bringing internet into the cockpit, so we're going to be bringing that pipe into the cockpit for the GA guys, not some of the high stuff that GoGo does, and some of the Part 23 and Part 25 guys. So we've got that going on, and we certainly have a lot of tweaks onto what we have on our existing upgrades. Our IFD, as you mentioned, is really that R9 technology squeezed into a little box, and there's so much growth there in terms of, we just released it into the helicopter market. So we've got the STC on the Robinson, the 22, the 44, and the 66. We think that coupled with an IFD 100 on the accessory bar is just a home run. So much easier for these helicopter guys to your point, manipulate the buttons and the knobs and the frequencies than it is to try and find a simple touch screen and trying to figure out how to.
I got to tell you, I've got a long relationship with the Robinson family. They were dear friends. Frank, his wife Barbara, and now his son and so forth, they are really hard people to impress. And that's the polite way to put it.
Yeah.
To get something done with Robinson is a big deal. They just don't compromise. That's a big deal.
Yeah, we have a lot of growth going into that market. We're really excited to introduce our product into the helicopters.
And this is where methodology is critical. In a helicopter environment, your hands are full.
Absolutely.
And you know, turbine, piston, it doesn't matter. It's just a hands-full environment. There's just not a whole lot of time to divert to something and twist this knob and turn that and push this button and so forth. So the more you're drilling down the methodology and making a transition or a change simpler, the better off you are.
And undo a mistake if you happen to hit something because you got bumped.
No, pilots never make mistakes. This pilot never made a mistake. Of course, I know. Tom assures me you never made a mistake.
That's right. You can't miss an approach with our product.
There you go. Outstanding. Now, the, excuse me, this dry air has been killing me all day. Where do you go from here from a standpoint now of the IFD series? You kind of took a swat at the Gorilla, and the Gorilla's not happy because you have a really outstanding product, and the thing that's really driving you has been word of mouth. I get such a kick out of the beach boards, and you know how active they are, and a couple of the other boards where they're talking about this, and then you got hey, my 550's doing this, and you know, and so forth and so on. And you see this kind of stuff. That's a brutal, vicious, competitive market. Where do you take it from here?
Well, we keep applying pressure. I mean, some of the GA pilots still are attached to their binky, and they have their GNS 430 and their 530, and they've maybe done a...
Isn't that a boat anchor?
and candidly, they've done an inexpensive ADS-B upgrade. But at some point in time, that 430 at 530 is going to start to get, you know, longer in the tooth. The buttons aren't going to be as responsive. The screen's not going to be as bright. Whatever's going to happen, and we feel we have a great play as a slide-in replacement because we can put our 4 series or our 5 series into their 4 series and their 5 series, and there's no wiring required or any major surgery with the panel. So it really works out pretty well.
And you built so much additional functionality and redundancy in there. I mean, attitude down. I mean, in a Navigator box, are you really serious? I mean, think about the levels of safety that have been included in these airplanes now, where in the past, well, do we have what's back up for this and what's back? Man, you've got so much redundancy at this stage of the game, it's almost confusing.
Especially if you tie, the ARS with an air data computer and driving these autopilots that are digital now. It's just really, it's so much situational awareness that's in the cockpit from the weather and the traffic and where am I? There's rocks and clouds. That killed a lot of people back in the day, and the situational awareness that we're bringing to the cockpit is just phenomenal.
Tell me about the effort right now in regards to upgrading what is becoming Skytrax.
So, great question. We hitched our wagon to NavWorks for a while, and that went to an ultimate demise. And so right now, we're still actively promoting the Skytrax product. It's a healthy innovation stream that we have in our product map right now. In the interim, for right now, we've also had a strategic partnership with Free Flight. So we're going to use that box for our ADS-B in and out.
And by the way, feel free to give Pete Ring any harassment you possibly can. We just love busting his chops.
So we threw Pete a safety net, and so we're able to spend some time with those guys and partner. Because one of the things Avidyne does is we play well with other folks. So we're integrated with the Lynx system. We're integrated with the the NavWorks box and the Free Flight box. We're integrated even with the Garmin box. We'll show traffic and weather with the GTX 345 and the 330.
As long as they'll allow it.
We have to do a lot of backwards engineering, but we feel it's important for the customer, and we make that a priority.
Interesting stuff. You mentioned your interest in the unmanned segment. What efforts are you taking in that realm right now, and where do you see that going?
It's really big for us, and actually it's kind of one of these de-risked innovation engines, because we're doing things that we maybe not be able to do in the certified market in terms of taking our IFD and driving an autopilot and doing remotely piloted vehicles with our iPad and things that are really kind of cool that that you wouldn't even think about in there. But we're partnering with some really key players, and everybody's jockeying for position, whether it's the Uber taxi or whether it's Z or whomever it might be. And so, you know, we're not in the little small stuff. It's the big stuff, and really getting a lot of traction with government. And we have a whole dedicated team that is working on that and driving that business for us.
Dan is not interested in taking the easy way out, I take it?
No, he's pushing that pretty hard, and he's very visionary in finding out where the growth in the industry is going to go. So really, it's really fun to be on that leadership team and watch where we push the company.
Think ahead, we've got an interesting year coming up. The FAA has signaled its willingness to look differently at the current set of regulations. What does that mean to Avidyne?
You know, we're pushing the FAA on a lot of those things too. A lot of the North Sea requirements and some of the streamlined certifications, and we're doing things in small slivers to help both the FAA and Avidyne understand what is the speed to market path, and you know, things with our autopilot, things with our ADS-B in technology and stuff like that. So well, it's an uncharted territory right now. I think they're trying to figure it out a little bit, and we're trying to figure it out a little bit. But we're both taking advantage of some of the streamlined approaches.
Interesting. The industry overall, how would you gauge its health?
You know, it's interesting. I come from a military background, and I was fortunate enough to fly the F-15, and then I got into general aviation almost by accident in an amphibian, and then I circled my way back to Avidyne now. The GA market is, for me, as I look at the opportunity, there's a huge catalyst right now with the ADS-B mandate. So that's really, that coupled with, you know, knock on wood, the good economy. So we're really talking about a discretionary product for our customers that they're using in terms of airplanes. And then now they get a chance to, I'll use the analogy of your house, you know, they get to upgrade the kitchen. And so now the ADS-B may be the refrigerator in the kitchen, but they're also looking at the range, the dishwasher, and the cabinets and everything else. And so we play a part in that whole cockpit and panel upgrade. So for the next several years, that's really going to drive it. Then, as I mentioned, as the GNS product continues to get aged, we're going to have a play to be a slide-in replacement for that for a while. And then I think it's going to get really interesting with the digital autopilots, and they're getting to a price point to where it's just, you know, a no-brainer.
Outstanding. We are coming up on the hour. We sure appreciate your time. Mitch, more important than anything else, how can people get more information about Avidyne?
Certainly come on our website, avidyne.com. It's really for pilots that know the difference. We really appreciate all the folks out there that are talking all the great things that are going on with our product in their cockpit. Tell a friend. We've got a great ambassador program that will give perks to anybody that sways any buying decision over to the Avidyne side of the house. And so get in touch with us. We'll be in touch with you, and have fun flying our product, because for pilots to know the difference, you'll put your money in Avidyne.
Outstanding. Mitch, we sure appreciate your time.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 61st Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Las Vegas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
True Blue Power Advanced Lithium-Ion Mainship batteries feature proprietary nanophosphate technology. They deliver 3 times the energy density and are more than 40% lighter than lead-acid or NiCad alternatives. RTCA tested, FAA certified, available to OEMs today.
Are you stall smart? Ever since Orville and Wilbur took to the skies, pilots have been taught that the more airspeed you have, the better off you are. But over the last 100+ years, we've learned that's not always the case. Take stalls, for example. The common belief is that if you have sufficient airspeed, the aircraft won't stall. The fact is, an airfoil always stalls at the same critical angle of attack in relation to the relative airflow, regardless of airspeed, configuration, or weight. Learn more at aspenavionics.com.